What's up, guys? My name is Z and welcome to Cannabis Culture. The reason I'm here today is to put out a series of videos that will teach you how to grow some great marijuana with basic equipment. A lot of this stuff, guys, you may already have laying around your house. And the other reason I did it is because it seems like there's an interest in growing marijuana. I've had a couple of people, say, hey, teach me how to grow marijuana, teach me how to do this. And it's frustrating to a lot of people when they want to grow marijuana because they get online and do a bunch of research and they leave more confused than when they started. Because, there's threads everywhere by the thousands, maybe by the millions, on how to grow marijuana, but they don't really teach you the steps of what you need to do along the way, and you just get confused and discouraged and you try to grow and it doesn't really work. But I've grew a lot of marijuana, and especially deep water culture. Indoor growing has exploded across the country, and there's a lot of different methods. But the method that I'm going to teach you is super simple, and just you get absolutely amazing smoke and great results. A lot of people say, well, why do you grow in water? What's the benefit? The benefit of growing in water is you really never have to water your plant because it's already living in water, oxygenated water from your air pumps and your stones. And it's got all the food that it needs. It's not on a normal feeding schedule like regular marijuana is. It drinks when it wants to drink, and it gets what nutrients it needs. It'll just take up just what it needs, and that's it. And if you're in control of what it's eating, and it's always there, and you get it right, your plant will reward you amazingly. You'll get a killer looking plant with some great smoke at the end. But anyway, I'm going to show you some different things that you're going to need along the way, all the stuff that you're going to need, and where you can get this stuff at. And then we're going to talk about some lights, because lights are a big component to growing marijuana. A lot of people say CFLs, which CFLs put out a lot of heat and are not very bright, and you have to have a bunch of them. I don't recommend CFLs. Then there's a couple different types of LEDs that we're going to talk about. You got your T5 lights that we're going to talk about. And we're also going to talk about your high pressure sodiums and your metal halides. And places that you can grow, and what I personally think is the best as far as growing marijuana. But we'll discuss all these and the pros and the cons of each light, which you can grow with about any light that you want. It depends on what you're trying to get at the end. If you want really good yields, you're going to need a really good light. Your fluorescents just ain't going to cut it. They don't have enough kick to them. But no worries, guys. I'm going to point you in the right direction to where to get everything that you need and let you decide how you want to proceed depending on your budget. But I'm going to give you all the information that you're going to need. So with that, let's just jump right into it. Alright, guys, let's start with the equipment that you're going to need first. You can see there's a bunch of stuff up here, but do not get intimidated about what's here. This stuff will last you a very long time, and it'll last you more than one grow. Alright, let's start off with the bucket. You can purchase buckets about anywhere that you want to purchase. Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's. You probably got a bucket sitting around your house. Just when you use your bucket, make sure it didn't have paint or any kind of substance such as that in it, and wash it out really good before you start to use it. And you can see I always paint my buckets black, and that's because I don't want any light penetrating through the bucket and causing algae to grow inside my water, because it will be a nutrient rich environment. And you're also going to need a net pot, and I'll explain what the net pot does in a minute. And you're also going to need a lid with a hole for your net pot to go in. If you do it like I do, I'm a DIY guy. I like to buy my lids, buy my net pots, cut my holes, and use that. And what this does is it'll sit on top of your bucket when you're ready to use your rock wool cube, which is this rock wool cube, and that's what you start your seed out in. So whenever you put your seed in here, your block is moist, we'll soak it. We'll get to that, guys, so don't worry. But when your seed is in here and your taproot comes out, what you'll do is you'll take your bag of hydroton, and I've had this hydroton for a very, very long time, and I'll show you what it looks like. It's just expanded clay pellets is all it is. And I've had this bag for like, I don't know, 6 years. So you'll take your rock wool cube and your hydroton, you put a layer of hydroton in the bottom, which a lot of people don't put it in the bottom. They like to set their cube on top, but I'm showing you what I do and it works. So when our taproot comes out, we'll take a rock wool cube and set it on top of our hydroton layer with our water solution inside. But we'll get to that. I'm just trying to explain to you what these things are for right now. You're also going to need 2 air pumps. And this air pump is it's an aquaculture. Comes from Walmart. It's not very expensive. It's a 2 outlet. This will run 2 air stones. You're going to need air stones. Walmart sells the big long air stones. And that's what we're going to use in our grow. We're going to use the big long blue ones that you find in the pet department. Okay? We're going to need one of these pumps. One of these pumps. It doesn't necessarily have to be this pump specifically, but we want a pump with 1 outlet. This one has 1 outlet. This one has 2 outlets. So we're going to need 3 air stones, the long ones. Okay. We're also going to need some lines, some air tubing. This also came from Walmart. We're going to need 2 packs of this because these are 8 feet lengths. We're going to cut them down into 4 feet. So we need 3 pieces, 4 feet long, which we need 2 packs. Okay. And you're also going to need some nutrients for your water. There's a bunch of different nutrients on the market, and the one that I've always went to are these general hydroponics. You know, this stuff, I'll stand by it, I'll vouch for it. I'm not getting paid to vouch for this company, but this is what I use, and this stuff is great. You need 3 different types. You need the Flora Micro, okay? You need the Flora Grow, and you need the Flora Bloom. And depending on what stage your plant is in, the ratios of this changes. You know, and say for example, when it's a seedling and you're in veg, you may go 1 milliliter per gallon of water of each. Then say you're in late flower stage, you may go 15 milliliters of this one, 15 milliliters of this one, 2 of that one. But we'll get into all that later down the road. Okay? You're also going to need a dropper of some sort. This will drop 1 milliliter of solution when I mix it with my water. And you can get 2 pack of these at Walmart for like $3. Very cheap. Okay? You also need some pH up and pH down. Now I've had these bottles for about 6 years. You can see that I've almost used all my pH down. You'll notice your tap water and stuff like that, it's always really high in pH. And there's some debate on the pH too. A lot of people say your pH has to be exact and it's got to be dead on, which I do agree to a certain extent. Maybe early in the stage it has to be right, like the first 3 weeks of the plant's life, and you know, a veg stage, ever how long we're going to veg for, it has to be pretty close. But when it comes to the flower or the bloom stage, some people like to call it, me personally, I don't pH anything towards the end. I just make sure it has plenty of water and plenty of food to eat on or whatever. And I've never had any problems. So you're going to need a pH meter. This pH meter I got off eBay, and it's extremely cheap, and they're pretty close. They're already pre-calibrated and they're ready to go. Okay, and these bottles of nutrients here, these are pint size, and you've also got the quart size. I would recommend buying a 3-pack of the quart size because you'll find that you'll use these pretty quickly. You probably have enough for one grow. You'll notice that you'll have a lot of this one left at the end, and you'll use a lot of your bloom, or use a lot, you know guys, you'll get it, you'll understand it. But I would definitely recommend, the Flora Grow, Bloom, and Micro in the quart size. It's a better value, and it's going to last you more than one grow. And the most important thing of all that you're really going to need is your seed. Now, I would recommend anybody get their seed from Crop King Seeds. Crop King doesn't pay me anything. They don't give me any free seeds. It's who I used. It's who I've always used. And I've always got great stuff for those. I send them guys cash, and within 10 to 12 days, I always have my seeds. And I've sent many orders over the years, and they've always delivered. I've never dealt with anybody else. So Crop King Seeds. And don't just get any seeds, guys. Get feminized seeds, because you don't want to go through this whole process and your plant turn out to be a male. You know, I know people that's try to grow, and they'll take a bag, say, oh, you know, this is really good smoke, let's grow, oh, I found a seed, let's grow it. And it'll turn out to be male, and you've just wasted all your time. So spend a little money and get some feminized seeds. But since you're going to grow marijuana seriously, you're going to have to spend a little money to get there. But once you get all this upfront cost out of the way, your grows will get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper as you go. But yes, you're going to have to spend a little bit up front. But the one thing I failed to mention that you really must have is your favorite bong with your favorite herb when you're doing this. You know, you might as well enjoy yourself, right? Life's too short, have a little bit of fun. But basically, this is all the equipment that you're going to need for as what goes in here to grow some really good marijuana. It looks like a lot, but it's not really a lot. I will try to find links to all this stuff, in which you know, you guys may have a lot of this. You may have the pumps already, and you may have the airline. You may have some air stones. The air stones are pretty cheap, so I wouldn't worry about those. The rock wool cube, this brand right here, they're the Gordon. Those are the ones that I use. It's the ones that I prefer. So look at those. You can get 6 of these pretty cheap. And this is for a 1 bucket setup. This stuff right here, the pumps and the line and the air stones that you're going to need, 1 bucket setup. But guys, I'm telling you, it's going to be worth it. You're going to be blown away at the end when you see the results of your grow. But gather all this stuff up, guys, and you be good. And now we're going to move into the lights. Alright guys, now let's get into the lights. You can see I've got several lights laid out here, and I want to get into each one of them just a little bit, because there is a difference between the light that you use. Because my very first grow was with a compact fluorescent. I had 4 of them. That's the curly bulbs that you used to see. You don't see many anymore because they're pretty much gone. LED light bulbs that took over, but the plant grew maybe 3 feet tall, if that, maybe 2.5 feet. It had maybe 8 or 9 buds on it. Complete waste of time, but I thought I was doing something killer and cool and amazing, and that's actually what got me into growing indoors. Kind of what you see laid out right here right now is a progression of where I started and where I went. After the complex fluorescent grow, I was like, you know what? This plant sucks. I'm wasting my time. I need a better light. So what I went to was the metal halide and the high pressure sodium. This is, what is this light here? This is a high pressure sodium, 400 watt, 3200K I think it is, and this is for the flower stage. So you gotta have, you know, when I first started growing, I thought, hey, you gotta have 2 different spectrums of light, and that's exactly what I went with. This is the 400 watt 6500K metal halide, and this light was probably, this one bulb was probably $40, I guess, something like that, maybe a little bit more. It might have been higher, but that's what I went to, and I got killer results with these 2 bulbs. It was, you know, daylight and dark difference. If you don't have enough money to go into the fancy LED stuff, I would definitely recommend getting these. The only problem with these 2 bulbs is the heat they produce. You lose a lot of efficiency, and when you're growing marijuana, it's all about efficiency. And since these produce a lot of heat, you got to find a way to get rid of it, correct? But this is a very good option for beginner. A 400 watt setup with a ballast in the hood, and the bulbs, you can get the bulbs with them, will cost you about $100, and it's well worth it for a beginner, so keep that in mind. But then you get into some of the newer stuff, like your true LED lights. This is a Mars Hydro LED. It's kind of what I stepped into after that. I was wanting to say, hey, what's up with that? You know, a lot of people are growing with that, and you see some videos on YouTube, and now you don't see any videos on YouTube that deal with marijuana growing. It's because YouTube sucks, which is why we're not going there. But I don't recommend these unless you absolutely have to use it. Of course, it's cheaper than the 400 watt setup, but you're not going to get the yield that the 400 watt gives you. What you do get in return is less heat. A lot of people use these. A friend of mine uses these, and he gets good looking plants, but it doesn't get those big fat buds that we're after. You know what I'm saying? It works. It's more efficient than this because it transfers more energy into the plant, and there's not a lot of energy wasted in heat as far as these go. So if you have to, or you're on a budget, get you something like this. This is a 300 watter. I've never actually grew a plant with the Mars Hydro stuff. What I use this for sometimes is maybe some underlighting, because these plants that we're going to grow, they'll get 4 feet wide. They get huge guys, and the light's going to have to penetrate through the canopy to get your buds to come out even. And sometimes I'll use these as an underlight. Okay, now we're going to get into our T5s. This is a 4 foot, 54 watt, high output T5 bulb. And I have grew with T5 one time. What I done was I got separate bulbs for my fixture. I have a 4 foot T5 fixture, full bulb, and I bought 2 different spectrums. I bought Pure Par and Pure Veg, and went through a grow with it. The plants budded. They looked okay, but they were really short, and I didn't get those big fat buds that I wanted. So, but if you have some T5 lights laying around that are at least 6500K, which this bulb is 6500K, you can use that to grow with. You just won't get the biggest plant possible with the energy that you're pulling from the wall that you could be getting, but you can grow with these bulbs. A 4 foot T5 4 bulb fixture will grow you some, you know, some decent marijuana. But these also put out a little bit of heat. They're not too terribly bad. You don't want to get your plants, you know, you can get your plants pretty close to these and it'll not damage it. But you know, they're more efficient than the high pressure soda and the metal halide bulb by far, but not as efficient as this LED. Okay, that's the 4 foot. Then I got to thinking one day, hey, how can I give my seedling a better advantage over using, you know, the compact fluorescence or just a general incandescent bulb? So what I did was bought a 6 bulb fixture T5. The fixture has 6 of these in it, and these are 24 watts, I think they are. And that fixture is perfect for our seedlings. You know, it's just when it starts to sprout out of the rock wool cube, the fixture that has these bulbs in it is the ones I use for I don't know, a week and a half, 2 weeks of the seedling's life is what I use. And I'll show you that, guys, but you can use just about any light that you want as long as it's not too strong for your seedling when it first starts to come out of the block. If you absolutely positively have to, get you a LED light bulb with one of those open hood fixtures that direct the light towards your block so your plant can grow. You can use that. And if you guys have any questions, you know, just ask. But most of you are not going to have any trouble finding some type of light, because if you're interested in growing marijuana, you probably already have some lights already, and you may have even tried and maybe not got the results that you want. But these are some of the things that you can use. But I don't recommend this one, the 2-foot ones, for a complete grow at all. These will work, but not these. These would be good for your seedling stage when it's very young and it's light. And the other thing that I like to do is I like to do a lot of DIY lights. This is it's about 65 watts of DIY LED. You can see I bought all the diodes, run the wires, soldered it together, put fans on there to keep it cool, and use some ballast. And this I have used for my seedlings. It's a full spectrum light. It does a little bit better than the T5 does as far as keeping down stretch, because you don't want your seedling to get really tall when it first starts to grow. So I decided to experiment with this because I love to DIY. But let me plug this in here for you real quick to show you what this thing looks like. Okay, there's the fans. Now let me plug in the LED itself. See guys, super bright. Check this out. And this is a DIY light. If you guys want to get into DIY, I'll be more than happy to teach you guys how to do some of those things. You know, how to build you some decent lights. But with all this being said, there's one light that I use personally that I prefer over anything else that I've ever used, and it's took me a long time to get to where I'm at in my growing. You know, trial and error, you know, start to finish, and you learn along the way. And what I grow with now are Vero 29 SE cobs. Cobs is a chip on board. It's basically an LED that's in a circle, and they're extremely powerful. They can handle I'm not sure what they can do, maybe 100 watts each or something like that. And you can run them, you know, different brightnesses, and you can arrange them different ways, and your heat sinks are unlimited, and you can build the coolest, you know, the coolest of the cool lights out there, and you can save yourself some money. If you guys give me just a second, I'll move my setup and I'll show you what I use to grow with. Okay guys, first off I apologize for the shaky video because I shake a lot and I'm not a very stable person when I handle a cell phone. But this is my preferred method of lighting to grow marijuana with. This is a 100% custom DIY light using the cobs that I talked about. That is a cob. It's a chip on board light, and I have 6 of these on here. This thing is dimmable. It's dual spectral, hence the 2 drivers. This is a 700 milliwatt driver, and this is a 2.1 amp driver with 2100 milliwatts. The heat sinks. It's passive. It doesn't have any active cooling at all. But this is 100% DIY, I'm sorry. And you guys can do this yourself. Super simple to build. If you guys want to get into that down the road, I'll teach you how to do it. But this light here, doing it myself, was probably the neighborhood of $400. Well worth it, guys. These things are super efficient. They don't put out a lot of heat, and it's just absolutely amazing how they work. These are Wago connectors. You flip a switch, unhook it, got a problem, change it. And these lights are wired in series, not parallel. This is the preferred method. I would say get a couple grows underneath you and invest in this. Oh, and when I was talking about the 2-foot T5 6-volt fixture, this is it right here. You can see it's not really super bright, but it'll work for seedlings. But now, let's go back to the other room. Okay guys, now you've seen all the different types of lighting, and you see what I use in my tent. So you got options, and you just got to decide what you want to do. If you really want to get serious about growing some really good marijuana, you get the light that I showed you in my tent. I will help you guys build that when the channel gets bigger, because it's pretty expensive to throw out of pocket. But it'll last you many years, over 50,000 hours, and it's super efficient. That light in there will outdo a 1,000 watt HPS metal halide light any day of the week, and the yields are just absolutely just stunning. But basically, guys, this is the stuff that you need to think about before we start our grow. So the next video that you see will be, I'll be showing you how to get your seed ready to put inside your rock wool. And that'll be a short video. It doesn't take very long to do that process, and I'll show you where you need to put your rock wool and what kind of light you need to put on it, and what you're going to need to help your seed have the best possible chance to survive. I am super glad that you're here. This is going to be a journey that we're going to take together, and I hope you learn something from these videos. And tell people about the channel. Tell them to come support me on Patreon, because the more support I can get, the more things I can do for you guys. I would love to get into monthly cash giveaways, and I'd like to be able to get meetups and getaway vacations with you guys, and just have a good time, and we can exchange bud and just live life and enjoy it. But basically, you're all set to go. Get your stuff that you need in this video. Then the next video you see, we'll plant the seed together, and we'll start our journey to something great. Again, thank you for supporting the channel, and I can't wait to see how your grow turns out. I'm going to be here every step of the way. And with that, guys, have a great night.